So what's the point of the queendom? What are we here for? What I want to do is to empower the next generation. And the best way to do that is to start by new life. If we're able to talk into, to bring up, and to strengthen, and to give the best to new life, then we're able to create a new world. Well, how are we going to talk into new life? The cradle of new life is the woman. The woman is able to hold, to feel, to speak into, to nurture and create a whole new world through one little person. You see, if the child is able to have a good nutrition, they have the best start. If the child is able to have a strong mental capacity, the world will definitely benefit, because a strong mind is what anyone needs to start off a new world. If a child is able to have all that they need at the beginning of their life, it will definitely reflect in the end. And so we want to hold hands and take the woman and empower her. We want to give her as much information as we can. And that means coming together with doctors, with lawyers, with financiers, with anybody that will help this woman make informed decisions for herself, for her family, and for the next generation. Now that is what the queendom is about. Walk with me and let's do this together. Let us bring up the best generation in the next generation. Thank you so much for joining us, and I pray that I leave a mark in your life. Yours truly, Kezia. Hi guys, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well. It is a lovely evening. I don't know what climate you guys were getting today, but the day was really nice. It was nice and sunny, and I was so anxious because I knew that we had a live session today. So I was like putting everything together and like drawing everyone together. But before I continue asking about how your day was, it would be really nice for you to share with me where you're listening in from. I think I've come up with a question because, guys, let me tell you the truth. I've had live shows like this before and I'm just having a monologue and you guys are like, and you can't hear me. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments where you are listening in from so that we can, share this thing together and we can get started. So what to Nairobi? Did you get rains? Did you get some sunshine listening in from and this place and having good rains, or where are you listening in from? So I'm gonna wait for you guys to share before I keep going and before I have this long conversation with myself. All right, so Esther is here from Nairobi. Esther, karibu sana to the show. Some of you have never really jumped in for our Facebook lives. So if you're here for the first time, karibu. This is our little corner. I kind of changed the setup so that we're able to share this specific conversation with other people. And so the idea here is that we can rewatch it, share it, bring it up to life on YouTube, etc. So yeah, and it also looks a bit fancier. So it's nice to have you guys here. Thank you so much for sharing. Watu wa Nairobi, karibu sana. Today is a very strange day because first of all, we had prepped to have this really robust conversation on discipline, and I think that's what the objective is today. Watu wa Kericho bado wako hapo na mvua. Oh, I don't know. It was a cold start to the week, but yeah, today we got some sunny skies. So thanks for sharing that. And karibu sana. Yeah, so we're gonna have a nice conversation. And here's the catch. So today, yeah, I have a bit of a surprise for you. Is it a surprise for you? Or is it one for me? We want to tackle discipline. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, there was a video that went on the Queendom, and then everyone was like, "Woo!" And it was, it brought up all the comments, and yeah, it was a bit dramatic. Of course, I started the pro. So I was trying to figure out, for discipline issues, where do you go? Like, there's some issues that you can't really go to the doctor. You go there and you're like, Daktari, my child is not obeying. So the doctor is definitely not the place to go for discipline issues. So where do you go? Where would someone go to find discipline issues? To your mom, right? You'd probably to your mom and be like, you know what, mom? I'm having discipline issues. Please, could you help me? you know? So yeah, it's important for us to try and see that we know where to go for discipline issues. If this child is just not listening, they're not obeying, maybe we figure out how we're going to maneuver this. And it hit me that there's a specialist who actually functions for discipline issues. There are people who actually focus and pay attention to the people who focus on discipline issues. And they are, drumroll please, behavioral therapists. These are professionals of childhood behavior. So I have a very good friend, Lillian, who is a professional on behavioral therapy. Well, she's a behavior specialist. And I reached out to her and I was like, listen, you need to come and, give us some idea and some psych of what's going on. But unfortunately, guys, and that's the reason why we're running a little late, she isn't available for today. So the next best pro are the queens themselves. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to manage and maneuver discipline, you and I, and we're going to figure this thing out. We did have a conversation with another set of specialists, and they gave me a couple of tips. So I felt like, this is the best space to share discipline issues and solutions for discipline. So first of all, when does discipline begin? When does discipline begin? Do you guys have babies, and when did you start disciplining them? Please leave me in the comments. Let's have a conversation, because the whole idea here is that in the comments is where I can hear you, is where we can talk about discipline issues. When is the best time to begin discipline? Some people say that discipline is started off before the baby is born. And I am pretty fascinated with that. I don't understand how you can in vitro discipline a child. But I do know from experience that the first time you have a little baby, it's so sweet to, to hold the little baby. And then 1 week goes by and you have this little sweet baby, and then 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks. And then a month kicks in. So you're accustomed to the cute toes and, the cute fingers and everything. But it so happens very quickly that your baby starts to show you that they're human beings. So the cooperation now starts to chenga a little bit. You're carrying your baby, the baby's crying. You don't know why the baby's crying. And what do we do? So you are on crisis mode, trying to manage all the issues, right? You're trying to solve. It's not a stomachache, it's not this, and it's not this. And then the African narrative begins. And this African narrative sounds something like, mtoto amekuzoea. Do you guys know that? Like, the child is now following in this, being indisciplined. In a matter of weeks, you have an auntie who's there who's telling this child is not disciplined. They're not listening to you. They're not focused. They're not paying attention to how you're training them for sleep. They're not, there's a discipline issue. In under a month, already parenthood checks in and gives you this whole, you need to be more disciplined. And so some of us, unfortunately, and I'm saying that on purpose because ladies and queens, there is nothing like a child who anazoea mkono yako. Your child has come from your womb. All right? The child has come from the closest inside your body. Holding your child is not a sign that they're indisciplined. It's not a sign that when you hold the baby like this, they have zoead your hands. So yes, it's controversial, I know, and that's what I'm saying. I want you guys to leave your comments in the chat box so that we can take a look at what's happening. But the truth is, the human body is designed It's designed for a company, for companion, for that's how children are designed. They want you to carry them. And there are benefits and pros and cons to carrying children. Some parents believe that you should hold your child throughout and you don't put your child down because it's only a matter of time that they learn that there's an emotional relationship with this person and not this person. There's other moms who are like, listen, guys, it's never that serious. Like, if he holds the child, I hold the child, he holds the child, it's someone holding the child. So, what is the issue? In fact, mweke chini alale. Some moms start sleep training as soon as that happens. And like I said, that's fine. It's a controversial issue. And controversial means that there's no one sock fits all. People have different ways of raising kids. And I think the first step is that we need to accept that, not keep fighting that. No, this is wrong. No, this is right. If a mother feels that that is what she needs to do for her child, and that is fine. There is a line because it also some actions tend to exhaust a mother, and so you want to be careful not to trip on the other side of the fence. So there are benefits and pros and cons towards maybe say holding your child the whole night. Like for example, um, I know for a fact that if you, I'm one of those moms who hold their babies. Me, I hold the first 4 months. I'm those ones. She kept to trying. Actually, I struggled. I don't even go to church. Like I'm not comfortable in the supermarket. Like I'm just like, no, this is my baby. And I've found 3 babies later that their emotional regulation regulates it falls in place a bit better later on. It has nothing to do with the time being. So at that time, of course, I'm suffering like, oh my gosh, this child is over my head, like my arms are tired and everything. But research studies show that there are less tantrums, there's less terrible too because of emotional regulation. Now maybe we'll delve better into that a little bit later, but like I said, there's a mom who's right now watching and going, what? I can't even do that. And that's fine. There's those who, as soon as the baby comes home, um, we're going to carry you, you're going to feed, and then you're going to go to sleep. And there's also studies that show that children who are raised in such a system are better with routine and consistency, and if you get probably better sleepers. Guys, I went somewhere and this lady she just put her baby upside down. We were in the supermarket, and she put the blanket on the bottom of the push cart, and she put the baby upside down, and then she tapped the back and the baby went to sleep. And that looks to me like, wow, that was pretty impressive. But that just doesn't happen. There's some training behind there, and that's probably where the discipline conversation comes in from. So there's different ways to enact and to bring out discipline, but what we want to chase after is best practice. What is the best practice discipline solution? And what holds the best way for the future, because you also don't want a spoiled child, but at the same time you want to be able to balance, when they can hear no and yes, and when do things start and stop. Now, the other thing I will tell you is that although I'm a holder, I believe in holding children. I hold my babies to the end. And for those of you who don't know, I am currently carrying my next one. And yeah, how many children is someone supposed to have? Anyway, I'm currently carrying my next one. And I've already begun the process. I already feel that, this is a child that I need to hold and cuddle as much as possible. But here's the thing that I'm not telling you. For me, the sleep regulation and the order of sleep is one of the biggest um, tail benders in motherhood, right? So this is the one that will get you like, my motherhood journey was fantastic to my motherhood journey was not fantastic. And I will tell you that I begin sleep training while the baby's in vitro. Yeah, I've told you guys that before if you guys have not been on the Queendom. But I have done my own studies. This is Kezi study. Maybe one day when I die, then people will say, Kezi discovered. But when your child is in your womb, they're alive and they're active. And this child has a sleep pattern. So this is when they're fully in my control. Now is when I regulate their sleep. So I have systems and strategies, And now I think I have one on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, you can check it out. But where I share how I manage the sleep system for children before they come out of the womb, so that by the time they are coming out, they're already on a routine. Because have you noticed that babies are born upside down? Like, it's always that they're awake in the day. I mean, asleep in the then awake at night, and it drives me crazy. This is why it upsets the whole system. Like, why are you awake? And I later discovered that the child is awake in the daytime because the child is awake at night because in the daytime you were walking around when they were in your stomach, and that walking around is a swaying motion, right? So you were swaying the baby and walking around, and the baby was falling asleep, right? So if you're a pregnant woman and you're going to work, you can already feel that there's not much activity in your womb. But when you're going to, in the evening, when you come home and you sit, suddenly the kid is playing. And so we don't realize, but our lifestyle taught the baby to rock in the daytime and then at night to rest. And so I flip the system. So in the middle of the day, I try as much as possible to lie down. And then from 7 o'clock in the evening, I get up. I would go outside for walks. I would do a bit of a dance. I would take it as far as I can go, maybe until 10, 11, even until 11:30 at night. And that I do from week 30 until week 38. Let me tell you, the baby is born with a completely different clock. And I checked it in my last pregnancy and I saw, wait a minute, this child is dead asleep at the right, like at 9:30, they just start knocking out because the habit has been formed. And that for me, it sounds like a conversation on discipline. So I thought it's something interesting to share. Maybe one of you guys who are on your first babies and you're going to 3 like us, you want to give it a try. It seems to work. And now this is like the second one was confirmation that it worked. Here we are taking the scientific notion. After this one, and if the baby comes and the baby's sleeping, guys, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. But let me hear what you guys have to say about that before we jump into the next bit of discipline. So I get a comment from Her Highness is saying, personally, I realize that all my kids are different in terms of character. So I always do lots of research to try and mother them differently. But my discipline starts at age 2 when they start pronouncing their personalities. And that's wonderful. I really like that. I have 3 boys, age 10, 7, and 3. And my second born gives me the hardest time. But he is the most brilliant among them all. I always have a routine because every child is different. I love that. I love that. We also need to understand to look at guys, look at what's happening on the Queendom. What is happening, Emma J? I think it's the most beautiful thing because you get to polish up your skills. But I really like what someone is saying here about knowing the differences between children and understanding their personalities differently. And I really feel like we unfortunately have grown up in a very hard African notion where we want to chapa the kids before they even know what's going on. So in my view, you should only really discipline a child when they are doing something that they've already been taught, and then they do it intentionally, and they're doing it to a risk. Do you get what I mean? So it's like a 3-pronged issue. So if your child one day wakes up and climbs the curtain, you can't beat this child. They have no idea that the child is not supposed to climb the curtain. You didn't teach them not to climb the curtain. This looks like a pretty cool rope. I'm just giving an example. But that's how children think. They think you just want to climb up and I'm just going to climb or swing under the curtain and that is fun, and they don't see the world the way we do. So it's for us to paint first the picture of what the world looks like and then to paint the areas that cause danger. And then that's when at that point in time, you want to chapa. Now, again, this chapa conversation is a long one because there are many countries where you cannot hit your child. I don't know what's happening there. But at the same time, for us, where is our regulation? How to what extent are we beating these children? Where is the barrier? Where is the trauma? If you decided and someone says, Judy says here, from my second I my second born was totally different from my first one. They say that the second child comes in a little stronger because the second child is coming into. Does anyone know why the second child comes in different from the first? Ah, leave it in the comments. Why am I having a monologue? You guys are right there. So yeah, sure. Tell me, why do you think the second born comes in different from the first? Why are they so strong-willed? What's the reasoning behind that? But you want to the first year you are running out how the world should look like, what the world looks, A, B, and C. This is not, many people won't be happy with this, and this is a bit better. This is okay. If you do this, then this is fine, you know? And if you do this, mommy gets a little bit more upset because da da da. So yeah, it's very important for us to paint out that picture. Now remember, the first year, your child can barely speak. So you're really doing no, no, right? That's your discipline. Apana, chu, ni moto, ni chafu, right? Because you can't communicate. That's what's happening. But the truth of the matter is, they are self-regulating and figuring out you as well. When you say no, and then you say it, and then you elevate and say, Baba, I said no, no. You get what I mean? Then they know, okay, there's a repercussion coming. Now, when you carry that no through, because if you keep doing that, no, no, then the child lives around no. So they now realize this lady says no to everything. If I touch here, no. If I go here, no. So for me, the first freedom of discipline is ensuring that your baby has places of yes, which means you probably need to change your environment, right? The first time I remember I had an accident and I went to the hospital, my daughter stepped on a little bit of warm water before the bath, and I was panicking, so I ran to hospital. And I ran there, and the guy's like, "Hello, what is the problem?" And I told him that my daughter's burnt her leg, and he mom shamed me. Oh, it was bad. Why would you put hot water near a child? Do your house not have enough space for hot water? Why would you do like that? Yay, it was hard because first of all, I left there feeling like I am never coming back. How can this guy talk to me like this? How can he say that? You know, you know. But at the same time, I mean, the child did have hot water in their vicinity. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna work around it. I'm not gonna remove the hot water. I'm just gonna put it in a different space. But at the same time, I mean, the doctor's words were like, they were really stressful for me. So you want to ensure that your baby has a good environment so that you're not continuously knowing. No socket, no chair, no. It gets very frustrating for the child because now they don't know when your no is yeah, this one is trouble, right? All right, so let me see some of your comments before we go on. Second born is mostly trying to fit into a already done structure used for the firstborn and may not necessarily be working for them. Wow, that's a powerful statement. I want you to take that statement and blow it up to 18 years, 20 years later. Your second born is mostly trying to fit into an already done structure. So this is like you've already told your first one what you want them to be. They've gone to college. You've already figured out the colleges. You've already figured out where they're going. They already have some sort of best friend who's a different gender. Like things have already been, you've already gone ahead of the second born. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to squeeze their way, fight their way to getting a new experience for themselves. And many times we don't give them that. So they want to fight it through. So that's a really good one, Emma. I think you got it. I feel like my second child came to challenge my patience and motherhood. Guys, my second child is the CEO. I don't know about you guys, but if you look at it, she's the one who'll say, okay, enough in this boardroom, right? It's your second child. The first child is usually like, oh, we can try. I mean, I can already see her being walked over. She's probably good in a church meeting. But the second born is going to definitely, I'm going to be able to run house meetings. I know that I'm going to be able to send her out. There's times when my second born comes and tells me the firstborn is being beaten. And she comes, she's not even coming to me. She's coming to get a kiboko. She's like, Mom, can I have the kiboko so I go and beat the person who's coming to? I'm like, what? So the second born, yes, does come a little bit more feisty. But the beauty of a second born is, and you don't want to dim that shine, is that your second born is second born statistically are bigger bosses in society. We love second borns. So yeah, second borns are big fighters. They are difficult in the first few years because they're navigating, but second borns generally, they are a bit of a handful. So of course, we want to look out for that. All right, let's read another comment and then we're going to go into a quick video, which you guys shared. We are 1.5. Our current form of discipline is learning. I'm teaching her how to understand what no means and bad means. I try and explain why I say no to certain things, and I'll keep on explaining until she gets it. Then we can discuss the consequences of not actually listening. So that's interesting. I like that. I bless your journey. By the time my children were 1.5, like what they were able to like take the rice bin and just like, and I found that the journey was a little bit of a more of a curve. But I think this is a beautiful thing when you're able to explain because they understand. So at that point in time, you're able to communicate, and that's really important. It's really important that you're in a space where the two of you are able to communicate. Now, I wanted to talk about that, explain what the situation means. Nowadays, there's people who come and they're like, listen, the children are spoiled nowadays. I have to keep telling her why and who and sit down and talk and explain myself. And I find that the reason why that conversation is so hectic is because there's trauma behind us. So now I'm moving the pointing fingers. We are so carved into a society where do it because I've said it. Kumesemwa. That's just the way the church functions, or that's the way the government functions. So we don't question. And I don't know, has it built us or broken us? Are we there? Has it made this country a little bit better? Has it made the world a little bit better? Or has it dimmed who we are? Would we have rather gotten an opportunity to ask questions, or are we better off with obeying blindly? And that's a question that maybe you can answer as you go along, because the truth of the matter is you don't know whether a blind obedience works for you. There's many trains of thought for that. Some people believe that, and there's notions that, you see, if you're a Christian and you're following Christ, Christ doesn't explain himself. The obedience needs to come in accordance to his word. So if he says do it, you need to do it. So the training ground comes in from parents. I've told you not to do it, so you need to do it. But in my explanation, and for that specific point, I believe that Christ always has a reason and he has promise. Um, he gives you the reason why you should obey, and he gives you the promise if you obey, this is going to happen. So the train of thought behind it not being reasonable, Christ's teachings not being reasonable, is very different. So that's the Christian religious angle to obedience. But there is a different kind of obedience when it comes to adults, where the big person, traditional, I don't know if you guys remember traditional discipline. Mama mesema, your uncle comes and he says, endo nilete maji. And then your child says, yes. And they go and get maji and come back. Like no questions asked. But nowadays, your auntie comes and she's like, go to the kitchen and tell her. Then she's like, where ende? Huh? And the adults are like, oh my gosh, this child is not disciplined. And they start chastising you for all your wrong parenting, for all that breastfeeding. But it's a bit of a conversation, because you wonder, do I want my child to have blind obedience? And let me throw a spanner in the works. Many times, abuse, rape, and any of these pains that we have in our childhood are a repercussion of this blind discipline. So because because your child is not designed to question things, they get into very difficult spaces. And you want your child to be able to say, you're touching me inappropriately and I don't think this is right. Or this situation, this setup that we're in, it's not right and I should be able to stand my ground. So again, catch 220, right? There's a way we have to manage all that. Let me listen to you guys. My son is here and listening with me, and he's asking me, how can a child be a CEO? I'll explain to him later. He's only a child, and now, hi, little baby. You are a CEO. We are speaking into it. But yes, you must be able to ask your mommy. You see, he's asking. The fact that he's asking means, what character traits am I carrying that should bring out a CEO? And yeah, CEO is someone who puts in their foot down, right? We know that. So I hope, child, you give him some description or some explanation that he's right, as long as he's raised well. In terms of discipline, to me, my 3-year-old daughter is timeout. And anytime she hears timeout, she apologizes and she doesn't repeat it. Something we start at 2.5 tantrum stage. Where? Hmm. Timeout, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, timeout is a very Western concept because they were stuck. They were like, we can't beat this kid. We don't know what to do with them. Ah, give me a solution. Put it in the corner and be quiet there first. Timeout is a very, very effective method for the parent. It works well. It is the idea of separation and neglect. Timeout is what um, governments use for discipline. So if you go to the superior high court, or the whatever, and you tell them timeout, they'll understand you. It's now become, men get timeout, like they understand it, because that's how the government works. So good on you that it works. Again, it has pros and cons because it depends on how you run the timeout, the timeline between your timeout and your release of your child, the explanation and the thought process behind it, the anger and the temper and the rage behind it. You want to make sure that your timeout is strategic. It is very well put together. When you come back down, the whole objective, and if there's anything you need to leave with in this session, is that you need to restore the relationship. You need to restore the relationship. When you're done with the timeout, you need to go back in there and sit on the floor. And there's a restoration and learning process from there. I love you. And I'm sorry that was so difficult for you. Is there anything I can help you with? You know that I don't like doing that. And I know that you're struggling. Is there something we can we work this out? You understand? It sounds silly for a child. But when you grow up knowing that timeout is for restoration, in the end, there's some restoration post discipline, it then moves from emotional abuse, because timeout can be it is emotional abuse. Go there, don't talk to me, don't sit down, think about your problems. If you play it out wrong, it can sit really badly for the child later on. I remember when I was growing up, at some point in my teenage years, I just felt like no one understood. So I would take myself away. And I just feel like these days it's so rampant. Children are able to, the teenagers just keep pulling away, and they keep sitting in their houses, and I mean, in their room, sorry, and they just don't talk. And then they go into this cocoon, and that's where depression catches them. So you also want to ensure that as you are doing it, it's sustainable, but it has an end result of love and connection. And it's very short, so that you don't prolong the process and train the person to be pulling them away from the situation. I noticed my firstborn, she's very sensitive. She's a very sensitive child. And if I do that, she'll pull away and she'll go to the bedroom herself and she'll sit there. And I didn't know if that was very healthy. So the whole point is to restore post timeout. So yeah. Let's read another one. It's definitely broken us at some point, and I give my kids the chance to give an opinion before we come up with a solution. It's easier when they feel like they contributed. Oh, I love this. It's easier when they feel like they contributed the functionality of the house, which is something I wish I had growing up. They are more open with me, unlike me and my parents growing up. Oh, that is a beautiful statement. Oh, that is very nice. That you allow them to be part of the restoration process. So research studies show that we are most discipline methods are one-sided. The child doesn't feel what you're feeling. They are just going with the blows, and then you're upset, so you need to figure out what you're feeling, and then I'm just here like, okay, I'll do what you say, fine. If you want to hit me, hit me. If you want to take me to the back. But you want to introduce the fact that it's also making them feel bad. So you're awakening their emotion. How do you feel about that? So you hit your sister. How do you feel? Do you feel good? Or how do you feel about it? You're reconnecting them with their issue. And then what do you think we can do to make that situation better? Yeah. Some of you making me sound like I'm Nini. I've become from Nini Europe. Hey, ask guys were beaten even though I was not talking. So, by then my father never hit me at all. I remember a couple of my mother's threats. I don't remember her physically hitting me as well. But anyway, guys, let's play a quick video. Let's play a quick video and see how this works.
Little boy, you know, I'm trying to keep him occupied on a plane for 3 hours.
I understand. We're just trying to relax and get to our destination. We're all going to be great.
All right. It's fine. He's stopping a sec. He'll be okay.
You got a lot of energy, don't you?
Just talk to me.
I'm sorry. Do you care to like get your kid out the hole?
It's getting real.
I mean, have you ever had a kid on a plane for 3 hours? What would you do? What would you do?
She got a good
If that was
point.
my kid, he would be behaving.
He's behaving. Definitely behaving.
Doesn't
Yeah,
seem
now
like-
you.
I don't think you've passed on good manners.
I definitely passed on good manners. I'm gonna need you to turn
I think-
around.
Ooh.
Listen, I got this. I'm gonna need you to turn around and play it off.
Play it on.
He stopped. He stopped.
Okay.
He stopped.
Yeah, you're good.
Honestly, please. You need to make a scene.
I mean, come on.
Stop, honey. Like,
You
honestly.
mean stop it?
Yeah,
I mean,
listen
I feel
to
like
your
I'm on a
wife.
roller coaster.
Listen to your wife. That's your best bet. Turn around and listen to your wife.
Hey, buddy. Is there any way you can stop maybe kicking the seat?
Do not talk to my son.
Oh.
Don't talk to my son.
Man,
I was.
Talk to me like your husband did. Talk to me.
have you considered reading a motherhood book?
Motherhood.
I was just trying
Motherhood.
to.
Yeah,
Keep
you're
your-
overstepping your boundaries.
Overstepping my
Yeah, you are, and you really starting to piss me
You're
off.
overstepping my boundaries
Yes,
by letting
yes.
your kid.
No, my kid is just fine. My kid is fine. Turn around. No, you can turn
Lower
around.
your voice a little.
No, I
please,
don't need to
ma'am?
lower anything.
I was asking you nicely,
You-
and I was asking your
No,
son
but
nicely. if
both
he
of
could
y'all,
stop kicking the
both of y'all
back of the
together.
seat.
Can you not
Are-
talk to my wife?
First of all, your husband is disrespectful.
Do not
Your
point
husband
at my
disrespectful.
husband.
No, okay, well I'll point at you then.
I'll tell you what's disrespectful. The way that you're talking to us right now is really
And the way that you
disrespectful.
turned around
You just
and
let
talked
your
to my
kids
son,
go
and you talking
crazy?
about reading a book.
Yeah.
You
I
read a
think
book.
I think
You
it-
need to read a book,
I
and
think-
then
I
maybe
think
you
perhaps-
wouldn't be entertaining back here.
Maybe you should
Read-
join a mother group and maybe get
No,
some
I don't
pointers
need-
on how to be a
No,
mom.
no.
Hey, buddy, do you
Little boy, you know, he's trying to keep him occupied on a plane for 3 hours.
Oh gosh. Wow. That was a lot. Guys, what happened? What is going on there? What is going on? There's so much happening. I was struggling to watch a video and I couldn't figure out like, who's who in the zoo. Wow. It's very difficult. There's a couple of things that are happening in there that I don't know. When when the conversation came up on the queendom, I didn't even know which side to lay. I was like, but join a motherhood group. But then if you're looking for a good motherhood group, we got it, right? The guy was right. Motherhood groups are awesome. But what is wrong with that situation? What is wrong with that situation, guys? Let's decipher. I want your comments. What is wrong with that situation? What do you think? What do you think was wrong with that situation? First of all, before you even share your comments, let me just talk while you're typing. Abu type. But I want to challenge systems before we get there. I hate that that child has to sit on a big chair like an adult. I don't know how I feel about that. I just feel like it's not fair. I feel like planes should reserve the last 3 seats to be a library for kids. I don't know. Because he's probably bored. He's sat on that plane for I don't know how long. He's frustrated. He's irritated. He's irritable. And I'm talking like that because I'm a mom. So I don't want to get there and fall into a space when then one of you are like, well, go and join a motherhood group. But what is wrong with that situation? And why are they not succeeding? No one is succeeding. Everyone's lost. The husband is lost. The wife of the husband is lost. She did she tried, but she got lost. And then yeah, Black Mama over there is just, she's throwing her, "What did you just say to me? What's wrong with you?" And the little boy is even loster. I think he began lost, but it's even worse. So what are your opinions? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys about some of the issues that arise when your children take advantage, or when you're in the social setting and discipline now kicks off. And that's the true exam, because society, not very kind. Not very kind. They are very tough when it comes to discipline. Where are your comments, guys? Where are they? I'm not alone. I have a lot of people here. So let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Where are your comments? What is the challenge with that situation right there? All right, our first comment. Keep the comments coming, guys. I don't want to be alone when you guys are all here. So not everyone can deal with kids. This lady's brilliant. You're brilliant, Queen. You're a brilliant woman. I appreciate you here on this channel today. As a parent, you need to teach your children how to behave around strangers. There's a form of respect that they need to learn about space. This starts from the house, their siblings, their extended family, their friends. If your child has social anxiety, carry something they love doing. A toy, a book, a video game. Never let your child hear you defending their bad behavior in public. So we're establishing that that kid was kicking bad behavior. That kicking was bad behavior. The previous time he was in the aeroplane, because he's been in the aeroplane more than 20 times, right? He now knows that this is bad behavior. No. No, no, no. He has probably these are learning curves. So where she's sitting with her child, she has it's a teachable moment. She needs to take that moment and turn it into a teachable moment. I can hear her frustration because, again, I'm a mom. But I can imagine I've been on a plane and I've never really sat with my child, and then now I've just put them there and I keep tapping them. Shh. It frustrates the child because they're like, what am I supposed to do? Yes, he's jittery, but sometimes he was also kicking the chair because he didn't realize that he knew, but he didn't realize that he's going to get the adults fighting. He just knew he was doing something naughty. And I think that's, for me, a takeaway for this specific video. It's important for us to remind our children that children are people don't walk alone. There's a society and people have certain expectations towards society. Should we carve our children around society? That's an arguable comment, but there are things that irritate other. Not everyone can deal with kids, so you can tell obviously that those two don't have any children at all. They're just him and his wife. So they don't have the tolerance to deal with the children. And so along with creating, which is what we've discussed here, creating environments that work for children, you want to go to a place that works for the children, as well as teaching them that adults, not everyone can deal with children. And then you can teach them what to do in the event that that becomes a way. Because here's the truth: a disciplined child in society is loved. People love a disciplined child. They want to stay near them. They want to go places with them. They want to walk with them, to talk with them because of the discipline, right? So you want to allow the child to feel the social love rather than to feel the social hate. And you can do that by probably allowing them to understand what society is and how it functions. Now, even us, there are things that I can't go to Tao and do. Like, it won't work, and much as I like to argue and like, there's things you cannot do in public social settings. And it even gets narrower as you grow up. There's things in the legal profession you can't do. There's things in the medics, in the hospitals, you can't do. And I just believe that's how the world is designed. Am I happy with it? No. But that's just how the world is designed. So you don't want to set your child up for this kind of situation. And then there's a comment here that you say, never let your child hear you defending their bad behavior in public. I listened to that video a couple of times, and I realized that the guy started off with abuse. Like, he's like, can you tell your kid, like, the way he was talking is derogatory. It was not high. So his wife was better. She approached it better. She says, hi, little kid. Is there a way that you can, I felt like that was so nice. Like, she could have just let her relate, because that's another thing. You can't keep blocking your child off relationships between you and other people, because they're going to relate with other people differently. Your child is going to come back and say, I have an issue with the teacher. And you can't be like, hey, teacher, don't talk about my, like, you can't interrupt. Allow to have a relationship, because sometimes that's the experience in life. So it's very difficult, that kind of situation. But one of the things I noticed about this video, as we pull together our timeline, we've gone through the hour quite well. But there's something I wanted us to quickly check out now. Where am I? I want us to take a look at a certain clip, because I noticed that we are disciplining, but we are indisciplined. So it's very funny that you would be disciplining, but you have no discipline, And for me, that's really bad, because we were raised in a tough environment, yes, but our discipline methods for ourselves, not just for ourselves, but some of us are on the phone the whole night. We can't be told no. We don't know when to stop. The other problem is we've come from work. We have drained all our energy. And John Deloney, is he called John Deloney? I don't know. Let me check. But watch this clip real quick, and then let's see what he says, and then we can talk about that.
Okay? That's the choice you're making. But bigger than that, I wish there was some more.
So hold on, before we get into that clip, let me give you some background. So this lady calls in, and she shares that her child is a menace, and it's causing her rage. So the two of them, everyone's like, ah! In the house, like it's really manic. The whole place is up in arms. And he's basically giving her ideas on how to manage the rage. So first he says that she needs to get help if the rage is over the roof, and she's explaining like it is, like she has panic attacks, she has anxiety attacks. So he starts off by giving her really healthy advice to go and see someone. All right.
I wish there was some more sophisticated thing that I'm about to tell you, but Nicole, stop. You can stop. You might not be at peace. You might have to walk outside the door. You might have to go for a walk around your house and take 5 laps, but stop. I do not buy for 1 second that you can't just help yourself. It just happens. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No, I completely agree.
From this point forward,
I just don't know how to stop sometimes.
Then don't get to the
back.
moment. Don't get to the moment. That's the problem. So earlier on, I used an analogy. Earlier today, I was in an interview. If you take a 2-liter bottle, a brand new 2-liter bottle of like Dr. Pepper or Coke, and you shake it up, and then you pop the top off that thing, you're trying to catch all that fizz.
Yeah.
Because that sucker is so packed to the gills, and then they shoot gas in there to fill it up even tighter. And what you have to do with your life is you have to dump some of that Coke out of that sucker. If you have a 2-liter bottle of Coke and it's only half filled and you shake it up, when you pop the top on it, it will make the noise. It'll go, psh, it'll shoot the gas out, and the Coke will rise, but it won't shoot all over your table and the floor. Because there's not so much built up pressure in there. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, that's how I feel at times. I just feel like it's spilling over. It
is, but that you've got to create margin in other places of your life. So when your kids act like,
Oh, okay. I'm not getting a clear recording. I don't know if you guys missed it, but he's basically saying, and his point is that you need to figure and realize who's in control and stop. Okay, so there's times when you come home and there's chaos inside, and mommy, I don't know, I'm not playing with this person, and, and you also, why are you children? And you know, it's building up and building up and building up, and you need to stop. And that's your boundary. And you say, you know what, enough, I'm not going to do this anymore. And your silence speaks loud. And this is for a situation where you have children in the house and you're already up to here. And this is what he's suggesting. And sometimes you come from work, or you come home when your Coke bottle is full. And so any shake, it blows the bottle over, right? We don't realize that our discipline is coming in from a point of pressure and pain and stress. So if I could leave us with the queendom with something, it's first to realize that you cannot discipline anyone when your bottle is full. And so he suggests that you want to empty the bottle a little bit. You want to reduce the amount of Coke that's in, and then bring it down, because no matter how much you shake it, it'll never pop off. How do you reduce um, the amount of Coke in the bottle? And I've told you guys this before. We're having a mental health conversation tomorrow. So there's a lady who's coming in, guys. It is a wonderful session. It's so therapeutic. I love it. If you are on the Queendom, please make sure you reach out. All advertising will go out tomorrow, but you need to join in for that session, because those sessions help us figure out how to reduce the amount of liquid in the bottle. So it's very hard for me to summarize here, but here's a strategy for you. I want you to think of your life, and I've said this before. I want you to think of your life as a get bottle, your dispenser. Okay, you have get bottle, and it has many taps. Okay, and those taps are all open. So your taps are your work, your roles, your sisterhood. You're a child. You're a wife. You have so many hats you're wearing, and they're all open because they all require of you, and your water is just running out of all these taps. But the more you give, maybe you're calling, having a problem, you're trying to deal with that, your mom also is stressing you, and then at work they require your full attention, and your husband is like, babe, we don't date enough, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the whole thing. Your taps are running your water dry. And what happens when all these taps, your water just empties and empties? What happens when your water is low? There's nothing, there's no water to give, right? So you have nothing to give. Now your children it's a very fat tap, so the water just like, it's like spraying out, because children require you a lot. So what you need to do is you need to first of all take a paper and a pen and try and identify which taps you have. And these are just the things that are required of you, your roles. It could be anything from, maybe you're managing a shamba somewhere, or you're job hunting, or maybe anything, any of these taps that you are required from. Maybe you've been given a new project in the office. Maybe you are dating and you've just got into a new relationship and this person is requiring a lot from you. Maybe anything that is draining or is taking a little bit of your energy, and it could be as little as you're in the youth group in church and you are an alto and you need to remember the lines by Saturday. Like, that's a tap, because it requires of you. So make sure you write down all these points, all these taps, and identify if there are any that you can reduce or close. Okay, you don't have to do everything. That is called a messiah complex. You assume that if you don't do something, you are going to be fired, you are going to be written off, you're going to lose your job, your work, you don't have to do everything. What it does is slow down the amount of water that you're giving out. And you need to identify which are the most important taps in your life. So find out which taps are important. Usually it starts with God, it goes into your husband, it goes into your children, and then your immediate family. The other etc taps, including your job, will replace you the moment you drop down. So you need to ensure you're giving your ultimate best to the main sources. Then you can double up with the secondary tasks. You know that you can get yourself a PA? Do you know that you can get yourself someone to help you? Do you know that you can leave WhatsApp groups that are not necessary for you? You don't have to do everything. So, what happens? We are overstimulated. There's too many things going on in our lives, and we think that the problem is the discipline of the child. And it's really not. It's the fact that you are carrying too many things in your bottle. And like the video, he says the Coke is pouring out and you're trying to hold the Coke. You can't hold Coke. It's fizz, it's pouring. It's going to get messy, right? So once you've identified these taps, close them. Let one tap, let the water reduce and build up. And then slowly you can maybe unleash one tap or two taps. So if, say, for example, you're managing a farm and you have to go there every week, you can get someone to manage it for you and rather go there even 3 months once. Or maybe if you say are in a chama, and to be honest, the build up is just too much. You have to cook mandazis like it's a lot. You can actually say, I'm not, this is too much for me, right? And you should have like 5 or 6 taps max. Women have 20 taps going on. The tap analogy saved me a lot of trouble. And when I left that room, I felt so refreshed because I realized that I'm in WhatsApp groups that I'm not even benefiting from. I don't even know what I'm doing in. I would rather be in the main group where I was winning, Say there's a fundraiser, and sometimes these taps are guilt driven. Like maybe someone has died. you know, we're Africans. So we assume, if I don't join that WhatsApp group for Uncle Johnny's death, the whole family, it doesn't work that way. It Nobody cares. Everyone is too busy with their lives. People are gonna ask you one question, it's gonna go. My children, your children are valuable. You cannot trade that stuff off from things that are happening in the society. And I think if you get that notion of taps correct, you're going to find that your discipline methods are much easier. Your children are going to come back to you because you're not snappy, you're not irritable. They're able to come and tell you, mommy, something happened today, but this is what happened. And you're going to be like, you know what, I understand your perspective. Come, let me. You don't have to be. I can take care of you. Before I go, and I can see that your comments are not coming in anymore. So we're gonna try and pull this to a close. But once upon a time, my daughter went outside. She was learning how to write, and she loves to draw and write. And she took a stone and she wrote across a car. And then she came and told me, "Mommy, I wrote on a car." I didn't know whether she was processing that as good or bad. But yeah, so I absorbed that first. I was like, wow. Am I going to call all the... So I asked her to show me which car she wrote on. It was nighttime, and she told me, "Mommy, can I show you in the morning?" It was at like 10 o'clock when she told me. So ideally, my mind wanted to go out with a torch and start checking the cars and to see, because society, I'm going to be killed tomorrow. I don't even know where the rubbing compound. Like I just knew I was fried. So I had to discipline without seeing what had happened. And so I talked to her and I told her this is going to be really bad. Da, da, da. Daddy's not going to be very happy. Da, da, da. But I knew that I couldn't pull out my discipline whip. First of all, without seeing the damage. Second, without my husband, because he needs to come to terms with that as well. There's a bill. It was very stressful. So he came home really late that day. He worked really late. And the next morning, I got up, but by the time I gotten up, he had gotten up and gone to work. So I didn't get the opportunity to talk. Though you miss a time to sit down and be like, oh, by the way, because he came in at 1 o'clock. And I also, poor guy is working so hard. And then here I am coming with like all my problems. So he went to the car and then he came back and he told me, babe, there's a kid who has written on my car. It's like, which car? He's like, no, he was now using the one that was home. So he was like, the car has been written on. And he was so upset. He didn't get to the roof But he was like, why would this happen? Why would this happen? Can we find out what happened? So I had to sit down and tell him, Wendo told me she drew on a car. It must have been Wendo. So we had to sit her down, ask her, Mama, what happened? And she said, I drew on the car. There's no even reason to talk to people. Like, they are about to write in the WhatsApp group. Community WhatsApp group. Your children are indisciplined. Yeah, your children are our children. And so it's a self-discipline. It became an issue of the house. And I was like, this child is cooked. We are dead. We are moving. Houses, I don't know. We'll sell. I don't know what is going to happen. And you know what my husband did? He held her. He held her and he hugged her and he told her, we're going to deal with this in the evening. So for me, guys don't sit through the Kingdom banner. For me, I'm like, this guy, you're not supposed to do that. Like, you're prolonging the discipline and you're supposed to react. So for me, I was like, okay, so what do I do? Do you know my husband came back in the evening with a chalkboard and chalk, and he gave her a notepad, and they started this drawing act. And I'm like, there's no discipline here, guys. This is ridiculous. This is not supposed to happen. But basically, he turned the moment into a learning moment. She probably didn't know that you're not supposed to draw on cards, and that's probably where I'm supposed to, like, even the second, I'm like, don't draw on cars, don't break windows. Now I have to assume what they're going to do. Don't even think about jumping on anything. Like, don't pull gates, because you have to assume what children are going to do. But it was important for him to show her that the car is not more important than her feeling. So he managed that situation in a very different way. I don't even know if it's right or wrong. But the point is that one day that child will be your child, can be your child. And you want to be able to put in measures that are not just teachable moments, but, that the child can carry with them forever. And these moments are the ones that children, will walk through with. So, of course, now she's become headmistress of all car issues. I'm telling you, last week someone broke the car. They were playing football. Yeah. She was the first one. Mom! There's a car that's broken. No one hit her. No one beat her up. No one, there was no crazy discipline measure. We just took the volume down, taught, gave her an alternative solution, and it worked. So these are radical solutions. Sometimes some kids don't work. Some children just need na kuchapwa or repetitive. For me, I told you, if it's repetitive and you've warned and they already know that you shouldn't be doing this. This is what should happen. But yes, if it was the neighbor's car, we would be cooked. We would be cooked. Sorry, we apologize. This is not supposed to happen. But it was a teachable moment for her. It's also come to our attention that she's not the kind of child who you chapa. There's some children who you chapa and you break their spirits. Like, my first one is so delicate. Just telling her stop it is enough for her to be like, I'm sorry. Second born, we can talk about in the next episode. But for the first one, always try and give a teachable moment. Always try and calm down. Have discipline with yourself, because the child is going to replicate what you're doing, and bring everything to a narrow stop. And the child will learn, and some of these things more than you want to teach them. Yeah. Otherwise, you end up being a bit of a fight with your child, and you don't want that. The environment is not healthy for children. Yeah, so if you have no comments after that, thank you guys so much for joining in. We are still going to take on discipline from a professional value point. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Some professionals are also, it's too much, like book stuff. So you also need to know your child and know what works for them and do what works for them. And, I want us to encourage an attitude to be kind to another person, another mom, because they're trying their best. They're trying their best. They're going through things. People are struggling out there. They probably have issues from their pasts or whatever. And you don't want to be the person who was like giving them a bad experience, because you're the reason why society then would have a problem with discipline. But I appreciate you guys for staying in and for listening in. Tomorrow we're having a live session, but it's a private live session because it is a private mental health therapy session. Ooh, Woo! And we have finally partnered with, guys, I don't even know if I'm supposed to announce these things here, but we have a partner for postpartum and prepartum mental health issues. So if you know someone who's struggling with mental health in the motherhood space, oh gosh, I'm so happy, by the way. This partnership is so good because mental health and therapy is very expensive. So if you know someone who needs some sort of mental health check or therapy, please send them to us. It is free. I have gotten you free mental health, guys. There's nowhere. Check on your Facebook. I will scroll like this, you see. There's nowhere. I appreciate you for staying in. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna keep this session and share it live so that you can share it on YouTube so that you can have access to it. Otherwise, you have a wonderful crowd. I love having you guys here. You're wonderful ladies. And I wish you all the best. May you kiss your little babies. May God bless you and keep you. May He send His favor to shine upon you. May He give you peace in your houses, in your homes. To log out saying you are a queen, don't you forget it. Otherwise, have a good night, and I'll see you guys soon right here on the Queendom. Good night. So what's the point of the Queendom? What are we here for? What I want to do is to empower the next generation. And the best way to do that is to start by new life. If we're able to talk into, to bring up, and to strengthen, and to give the best to new life, then we're able to create a new world. Well, how are we going to talk into new life? The cradle of new life is the woman. The woman is able to hold, to feel, to speak into, to nurture and create a whole new world through one little person. You see, if the child is able to have a good nutrition, they have the best start. If a child is able to have a strong mental capacity, the world will definitely benefit, because a strong mind is what anyone needs to start off a new world. If a child is able to have all that they need at the beginning of their life, it will definitely reflect in the end. And so we want to hold hands and take the woman and empower her. We want to give her as much information as we can. And that means coming together with doctors, with lawyers, with financiers, with anybody that will help this woman make informed decisions for herself, for her family, and for the next generation. Now that is what the Queendom is about. Walk with me and let's do this together. Let us bring up the best generation in the next generation. Thank you so much for joining us, and I pray that I leave a mark in your life. Yours truly, Kezia.